Hi, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again today. 503, this looks a little different on here. This because it has a centrifugal clutch on it. So in other words, the engine will be idling and the propeller won't be turning. It had a C box on it with a 347 gear, and it's been removed, of course, and it's over there. It's all bagged up so it stays nice and clean. So I wanted to show you how to take this off. I've done it before. Sometimes it's pretty tough. So I guess an explanation of how this actually works is in order, because of course this is a little bit different and some of you may have never even seen this setup before. So there's a hub bolted onto the crank, and we'll see that after, but right here it has these two. These are like brake shoes, same kind of material with the springs here that keep them in. So when the engine revs up through centrifugal force, these shoes will move out. So this will get bigger in diameter, and then it's going to engage in the drum. Here's the gearbox. So this is the drum, kind of like a brake drum on a car. So same idea. Well, that shows up in the light there, but there we go. That's better. So that's what the shoes go into, and then through the three legs here, it goes into the shaft that of course goes out through and drives the gearbox. So now let's carry on and take this off. So I'm going to insert the crankshaft locking pin and get this in the right place too. There we go, so that it's locked. Now, because I know there should have been Loctite on this thread of this bolt here that holds the hub on, I need to warm it up a bit to degrade the Loctite so I can get it off. Now, I don't want to apply any heat on the shoes or the springs for sure, because the strength of these springs will dictate how much force it takes for the shoes to come out. So here's how I deal with springs. An old bootlace. You can buy a new one if you want, but I always save them out of my old boots because I want to take the springs off. Now, if I decide that I'm going to use a pair of cutters on it and pull the spring off, no. What happens is you'll put a little mark in the spring, and then that's where it'll probably break after. So if you have a lot of problems with exhaust springs, maybe you're using these to take the springs on and off, and you need to use a bootlace because you don't do any damage to the spring. So let's get at it and get those springs off. So I've got the crankshaft locked with the locking pin, and I need to take this bolt out of here that's threaded in the end of the crank because it holds this whole hub on. However, I know that it should have Loctite on it, and I'm going to need to warm this up to degrade the Loctite enough to get it to unscrew. So I have to take the shoes off because I don't want any heat on them, and I don't want any heat on the springs. So how this is going to work is the tension on these springs is pulling the shoes in. That's also the tension that says, okay, let's let the shoes move out. Well, I don't want to damage them with any heat. So let's remove the springs. So I could get a pair of cutters like this and grab them and pull them off, absolutely. But why am I not going to do that? Because it's going to put a mark on the spring and it's probably going to fail thereafter. So the way that I always take springs off, including exhaust springs, is with an old bootlace. So save your old bootlaces or just go buy a pair for your airplane. So exhaust springs, any kind of a spring, that's the way that I take them off. I want to take the spring off and not damage it at all. So let me get set up here. I'm just going to put, we'll start right here. Put the bootlace through here. The exhaust springs are a little easier. They're a little bigger, but so there we go. I've got it through and take it out to the end. Now, what you can do is that you can take it to make it easier, like to pull an exhaust spring and wrap it around a screwdriver or something. And now you can really pull on that. Okay, so that's what I've done here. So let me pulling that spring, and there we go. See, it's off. No damage, no scratches on it from using, pliers. So there we go. So now we'll undo this and insert it through this one. Come on. There we go. Okay, we'll give it a little wrap around here like this. I can get an easy grip on it. And now we'll pull this one. Well, the shoe's trying to come out. Come on, there we go. Okay, so that one came out. So let's take that out of the way. Now, the other two, of course, I don't have to take those out. And just in case it matters, I'm going to mark, because there'll be some slides that this goes on, and I'd like it to match when it goes back together. So here's what we're going to do, so that this shoe goes on this side. If there's any wear in there, I'd like it all to be the same. Okay, so we'll put those aside, put our springs aside. So now we can heat this up and degrade the Loctite. So the heat will travel down through the bolt, out through the threads, and get to the Loctite. So I'll just be patient and heat this up. All right, so depending upon what they used, blue, red, hope they didn't use stud lock. So now let's see. Okay, so the crankshaft is locked with the pin. So let's see what we can, oh, look at that. See how nice that turns? If you try and take that out without warming it up, you're just going to wreck things. Because it's one thing about Loctite. If you look it up, every color has its temperature that it degrades at, or crystallizes, whatever you want to call it. And there we go. So let's get this out of there. Pick it up, and you can definitely see, or maybe not, you can definitely see the traces of Loctite on there. And you see it's made it all going to go crumbly from the heat, and it comes out. All right, next let me get a puller. So I've got my good quality puller here. However, I need to attach it to these two holes here, and I think that it is a M6 by 1 thread by the look of it. So I just have a tap here, and I put a little bit of WD-40 in there. And oh yeah, look at that. So that's going in nicely. So it's not cutting a new thread. I'm just doing this by hand so that I can get the corrosion out of the threads and go from there. All right, so I have to, got to a spot there where it got a little bit stiff. So I'll just apply a little more spray in there. And find out. Okay, so that's cool. So now I just need to go over. All right, that's as far down as it goes. And of course, notice I'm doing this by hand. No tools, because I don't want to make new threads in it if I'm using the wrong pitch. I just want to clean the threads that are there. So this one is going in, and it feels pretty good. No, I think we're going to be good here. So then I'll have to go over to the bolt section in the boxes and find M6 by 1 thread bolt, and well, 2 of them, and some washers and stuff, and then I'll get this rigged up. So I made it to the bottom of that hole, so that's nice. So we have viable threads in there, and we know what size they are. All right, so we're going to put this back in here, and because I need something to push against. So I didn't put it in all the way where the excuse me, the washer was behind it. See, it still moves. So now I have this end, which is going to push against the head of the bolt like that. And then I've gone through my bolt department, and I managed to find a couple of 6x1s, and we'll just put these in. I want to put these in evenly. Well, apparently they're both at the bottom, so that's pretty even. Okay, so now I've made it centered so that it's all the way straight through, and then I need a 9/16 for this, and so we'll turn. I'm still on the lock pin, but I'm still going to hold it here anyway. Now I put quite a bit of tension on that, and I'm not going to try and just drive this down with a big bar or an impact gun. I'm going to, this is on a taper underneath here, so I'm going to heat it up, and well, maybe not. Come on. There we go. So I'm going to heat this, the hub up evenly to try and get it to expand, and it should probably come off with a good snap when it breaks the taper. I mean, this is why we had to take off the shoes and the springs and everything, because this will take a fair amount of heat on here to actually make this come off. So there's a little, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little bit of smoke coming off it from oil, or the oil that I put in the threads maybe. So I just have to keep the tension on it, and then just quickly check and see if, yep, it went a little bit tighter. Okay. Now, I don't know, I have no idea whether they've put Loctite on this either, so this could be quite a challenge to get this off. It's like most things, goes on easy, much more difficult to take off. And this is one of those deals where you just have to be patient, because if you're not, you're just going to wreck stuff. And we don't want to wreck anything. We want to be able to use it again. Take this off and set it aside, do the engine repair, and then be able to put it back on. we'll see if we can give this a little bit more attention here. Yep. It turned a little bit more, so let's... Well, it's getting fairly warm. There's a lot of heat coming off of it now. Well, that's as warm as I want to make it for right now. So what I'm going to do is just walk away. I think I'm going to go make a coffee because it's break time. And sometimes when these cool off, they'll pop off as well. So as I said, patience is required when you're doing this so you don't wreck anything. See if I can give it a little bit more of a turn here. Yeah, just a tick. So it's got a lot of tension on it. It's a taper, so we have to either make the crankshaft littler, which is pretty tough to do, or make this bigger with heat. So that's the only way we can go. So we'll come back after and see how we make out. Well, coffee break was good, and it's pretty much cooled off, and I still haven't got anywhere with it. Let's see if we can make it any tighter. I kind of expected to hear it go boing when I was having coffee. Nope. Okay, so what now? Well, I am replacing the crankshaft on this one. So I'm going to see if I'm just using a little small guy here, and I'm not going to whack this thing terrible, but I'm just going to try and give it a little shock. Just a little vibration through it. Well, apparently that didn't do anything. Well, I guess I'll heat it up again. Like I said, patience is required on these jobs. Well, apparently you're not supposed to turn this upside down. It's going to take longer to get this off than the whole job. Oh, I'm turning. All right, success. Haha, perfect. Makes a pretty good snap and cracking noise, doesn't it? Well, I guess the fact that it had a chance to cool down, I had tension on it, and then started to heat it again, was the trick. You never really know what's going to work when you're doing this kind of stuff. And make it not. And there we go. Okay. And we'll take this guy off. And of course, here's our standard taper and the taper in here. And it appears as though, no, it did not have any Loctite in it. So it's just, I mean, these taper, the angle, like different tapers have different amounts of grippage. So whatever degree taper is, I forget what it is on these, it's incredible. So in other words, once it was tightened up, even if this bolt had to come loose, yeah, it was on there pretty good. So anyway, okay, now that's how we take the clutch off. So on the scale of difficulty, that one was quite difficult to get off. They are never easy to get off. It just, you know, we need to remember we have to be patient with these things. We've got to heat it up, and as like I say, I heated it up. I had a lot of tension on it. Let it heat cycle, cool completely off again, heat it up again, and pop, away it comes off. So you have to change your methodology sometimes when you're just trying to do these things to figure out what's going to work. So anyway, thanks for the time you spent today. Like, share, subscribe, all those other things, and we'll see you again another day. Bye now.